Hi, everybody. This is Chris Kovacs, CEO at Constellation Digital Partners, and I'm really excited to talk to you today. We're going to talk a little bit about our belief that the future of digital banking is really around, or is going to be driven by, experiences that are happening today inside of video games. So we're going to talk a little bit about what video gaming can tell us about the future of digital services. Again, my name is Kristopher Kovacs. I'm the president and CEO of Constellation Digital Partners. Constellation has developed the world's first open development platform for online and mobile banking services. And we'll talk a little bit about our story, because our story starts with my three sons. In particular, it starts with my son in the middle there, Wesley. One day, Wesley was 10 years old, and I was noticing in my American Express bill that it was a little higher than usual. So as I started to look through that and I started to dig into why it was higher, I realized that it was because Wesley had charged $300 to my credit card. And when I asked him about it, he said that he was downloading new services and content for one of his video games. And he didn't realize that as he was using this on his phone, he was charging money to my account. And while Wesley reimbursed me for that $300, the real value in that discussion became the basis of the very company that I'm standing in today. Because the question I asked myself was, if a 10-year-old could figure out how to change his digital experience inside video games on his own very quickly, why was it that we weren't able to provide more robust downloadable services to credit union members and bank customers who are using the digital services we had today? So it gave me an opportunity to start looking at how other businesses, how others, including video games, have really driven digital interaction. When was the last time you played video games? Well, many times as I'm having this conversation with folks, they think of video games like this, because this is how they experienced them as a child. These 8-bit graphic, slow kind of experiences that they would use on their Nintendos or other older systems like that. But the reality is that today's video games are very, very different. They are completely immersive experiences with complex gameplay and strategy, and ever-improving graphics and interaction opportunities between those who play them and those who make them. And it is becoming a tremendously large business today, one rivaling Hollywood in its complexity and the beauty in what they're creating. In fact, video games today are a $35.4 billion industry in the United States. And before you go and say, well, we're only talking about a bunch of teenage boys, the reality is 60% of Americans play video games today. Adult women represent 33% of the game-playing population, and boys less than 18 are only 17%. Gamers over 18 are 72% of the gaming population, and the average gamer is 34 years old. The first time I saw some of these statistics, I said, well, this sounds exactly like who we ought to be targeting with our financial services and our financial experiences. So as we look at this, why are video games becoming so popular? And it's not just because of COVID, although in the COVID world, they had become even more popular. I believe there are 5 key components of video game design today that are creating really engaging experiences for consumers. And that if we want to design the financial services experiences of the future, we should look to video games and these 5 key components as the foundation for building the next generation of financial services. Those 5 key components are downloadable content, customizability, rewards, community and communication, and platform access. So first, let's talk about downloadable content. In the olden days, when we had video games, we would actually look at them and we would buy these cartridges. And we'd take that cartridge and we'd put it into our console and we would play. The reality is that for the entirety of the time that we had that console or we had that game, That is all the game could do. What it did on day one is what it did the very last time you played it. There was no change in the experience. There was no change in the gameplay. And arguably, legacy versions of online banking and bill pay are exactly like that today. What you buy on day one is the very same product you will have the very last day you use it. Downloadable content, though, has absolutely changed the video game industry. You'll see that there's a huge switch moving from the packaged model of content to downloadable content. What a game does on its very first day is no longer fixed, and it can actually change as new content is introduced by the developer. And it can be introduced on a regular schedule. They're now called seasons in some cases, or you can even have a special event that releases new content into it. New content can typically be new levels, new characters, new entire games sometimes, even weapons and missions along the way. By contrast, online banking and digital services at most financial institutions today are bought once every 5 years. And for that 5 years, it does exactly what it did on day one. The solutions are not designed to be expanded. In fact, there is a provider bias against integration and service expansion. Because why, if I've got to raise additional income or additional revenue for my quarterly report, I'm going to make an investment in sales to sell more product. I'm not necessarily making investments in a product somebody else has already bought from us. So there's not only this provider bias against integration and expansion, but the lack of application openness also restricts expansion. They actually cut off other companies and they put gates in front of them and not allowing them to integrate and participate in those services. In fact, I argue that financial institutions are still buying digital like they did in the 1960s. Here's a comparison. Here's 1960s on the left, 2010 on the right. I know because I'm the CIO that had to install the system we were signing for. Gaming's effect on banking is going to be different. Consumers expect the introduction of new content on a regular basis. They expect not just the exposure of balances, transactions, transfers, remote deposit capture, and bill pay, but they expect the full exposure of all the services from their FI, and they're seeking a completely integrated experience. That's what gaming has showed them. Gaming had showed them it's not unreasonable to expect new content every 90 days, to be able to access all of the services either online or on their console or on mobile. And consumers will expect frequent service introductions and changes. For digital providers in the future, design solutions around content and not transactions. Expand services beyond the basics, beyond balances, transactions, transfers, remote deposit capture, and bill pay. Provide consumers with a holistic experience and not just segmented. When I was the CIO at a credit union, a multi-billion-dollar credit union, we were frustrated by the fact that our digital services only represented about 25% of everything we could do for our credit union members. And the other digital services were split up into different sites, different applications sometimes, and consumers are expecting all of that to be brought together in a seamless experience. And if you still believe, if you're a financial institution and you still believe that, I can't change things because that's going to be problematic for us, consumers are expecting change. Lack of change is actually something they're going to look at and say, why am I banking with this company if they're not able to make changes and keep up with the times? You must be constantly introducing new services and creating mechanisms that allow those integrated services to be accessed by your consumer. But once they get it, they can't all get the exact same solution. So one of the big things about video games has been the introduction of customizability. The customizability allows gamers to change their players, to change their avatars in some cases, and create an online version of themselves. It enhances engagement and it can enhance gameplay if those customizations actually are rewards that help them along the way. It also provides them goals to work toward. And today you'll see this is actually a video that shows a little bit about what the store looks like inside of Fortnite. And as you can see, players can come in and customize weapons, they can customize outfits, they can even customize dances. And sometimes there are special things of content, like this piece of Marvel that was actually shown inside of Fortnite as a joint advertising and marketing effort. How can we learn about what consumers are looking for and apply this model to digital? Well, the reality is that not everybody needs to get the same experience. Some consumers are going to be very comfortable with a legacy, almost iPhone-like experience with buttons for each service, and others are going to seek a much more graphical representation, something they can really get excited in and drill into and understand. Today's modern solutions must do all of these. It can't be just one. Today in financial services, we frequently give consumers kind of the least offensive common denominator in the middle, right? But what 70-year-olds need and 17-year-olds need are very, very different experiences. So the solutions of tomorrow must be adaptive and customizable. If you want to use a whole bunch of services and pull those together into a single solution, that allows members then, or customers, to be able to choose which of those services they want to use, allowing them to create a market of one. Today, though, there's no customizability in banking. We really stopped after checks and cards. Broadly accepted applications are a thing of the past. The idea that you can have one application that's being used by everybody isn't something that is going to be satisfactory in the next generation of digital financial services. As I said before, millennials and baby boomers today get the very same experiences. The systems of tomorrow must change that. And they must support customizability, interfaces, and rewards, and allow members and customers to create that market of one. And a lot of that customizability can be looked at in relation to rewards. In some games, developers create these time-boxed challenges of visiting this piece, perform this task, visit this character, get this many points, access this new service. This drives engagement in the platform. And by the way, this is true whether it's Fortnite like you see here or Candy Crush. It doesn't matter the game, the model is still the same. The rewards and engagement model that video games are using today need to be the standard engagement model that we see in financial services in the future. Gaming rewards can be, levels of the games that allow the members to track their progress. Players receive rewards for use of the game. More frequent and better players receive more rewards. Rewards can provide additional customization options, and publishers conceive challenges that expose new services and features. Can provide power-ups, allowing the player to advance more quickly. And they have these really beautiful ways of showing you that you've received a reward. These graphical representations that change the experience. And it can be things like, what your character looks like, what your avatar looks like. It could be a new capability. It could be a reward for having completed a task along the way. How could we use rewards in banking? Well, think of creating a means of measuring engagement in digital channels. If we could successfully measure engagement in digital channels, well, we could then create challenges or rewards based around that engagement engine, which highlighted, in particular, education and accessing new services. One of the things when we have a more open service that's creating new content and downloading new services is you're going to have to introduce customers to that service. So you can create challenges that say, hey, we've created a new mortgage service that allows you to service your mortgage. Go visit our new page and receive a reward, right? And those rewards could be things like a savings bonus for a bump for 30 days. Hey, go complete these rewards, and we're going to bump up what we pay on your savings account by a few basis points. Maybe if it's really important, you could get free loan interest for a month or pay for an Amazon or Apple charge. It could be maybe you're getting a new look, right? You've done something, you've experienced something, you've shown you want to be engaged. Maybe you get a new look, a new template, a new feel to online and mobile banking. Maybe you get access to prototype services. Many of us in institutions have felt the demand from some customers who were really highly engaged and pushed us to want to do more. Well, those people should be rewarded, not avoided. And we could reward them with access to new prototype services where we could get their feedback before we provide that to our larger customer base. The key to that, though, is having an engagement engine and then having an engine that allows us to create challenges and that can time box the challenge and ensure that people get it done and they get engaged to do it. One of the great fallacies that I've learned through my boys, honestly, about video gaming is that video gaming isn't an isolation, or it isn't something that isolates people when they play. In fact, there are now entirely new communities and communication models springing up around video games. You know, when we were young, or when I was young, it was playing on a Nintendo Entertainment System, in your basement, and you're not connected to anybody. Well, that's changing dramatically. There are now actual events being held inside video games for consumers to be able to get together and watch concerts. This was a concert that was put on by a DJ named Marshmello inside of the Fortnite game itself. And the players were allowed to dance and talk to each other and could do all of the things they wanted to do, just like they were at a concert. It was an amazing experience, and it really blew the minds of the participants who got to see it and got to participate in it. And it changed their thinking about this kind of communication that can happen inside of video games. In fact, you might be surprised to learn that video games are becoming a spectator sport. Esports are the fastest growing professional sports league. In fact, in 2018, ESPN, yes, that ESPN, broadcast a video game championship for a game called Overwatch. Games are now being expanded specifically to be watched in front of stadium audiences and offer entirely new interactive experience. Gaming is not an isolating behavior. This is a video of actually one of those video game championships. And what was amazing to me as I looked at it is you have a stadium full of people watching two teams engage in a video game against each other with coaches and strategists helping them decide how they were going to achieve success as a team. An absolutely amazing engagement experience. And remember, video games used to be something you did alone at home in your basement, and now there are stadiums of people watching it. In fact, it's creating the promotion of entirely new celebrity personalities that are cashing in on this opportunity. You may have heard of a gamer called Ninja, perhaps one of the most famous gamers in the world. Ninja was actually earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a month playing video games through endorsements and celebrity. And actually, there was even this soap opera where he was switching between gaming platforms who were vying for his interest and vying for him to play on their services. So what they've done successfully is they've created online communities buttressed by these online personalities that can show consumers how to use your best services, right? We could learn from that, and we could create those same kind of personalities inside of our institutions or inside of our companies. Make them authentic, make them someone who's young, build communities around these personalities, and encourage them to be engaged. Create unique experiences for your most engaged digital users. Create community coaches and guides that can help people use your services, and do it publicly. Remember when I said gaming used to be something you played alone at home in your basement? Well, like banking, it was done privately. is the future of banking really going to be more around public banking? And what does that look like? Because I think we're going to be asked to facilitate inter-customer communication as it relates to financial services. The last key part of what we could learn from video games is that the platforms are coming. So the platforms take these 4 previous components: downloadable content, customizability, rewards, community and communication, and put them into a platform that now allow both game developers to access the platform to create content for it, and it allows consumers to be able to access that from any device. And it's been highly disruptive to the gaming business model. Games are now not just single purpose. Game platforms are not just single purpose. They can be used for lots of different things. In fact, I'll tell you a story here in just a second. So this is probably one of the most famous games that's out right now. And of course, it's called Fortnite. And what most people know about Fortnite is it's made by a company here out of Raleigh, North Carolina, actually a company just down the street from us named Epic Games. And Fortnite made Epic famous. But in gaming, actually, what Epic is famous for is something called the Unreal Engine. It is the platform on which Fortnite is built. And while Fortnite is incredibly successful, for a while, the number 2 game in the world was a game called PlayerUnknown from a company called Blue Hole Software in South Korea. The funny part is that it was also built on the Unreal Engine. So whether a consumer bought Epic Games Fortnite or Blue Hole's PlayerUnknown, the reality was Epic Games was earning money on the back end because in both cases the systems were using the Unreal Engine. In fact, the Unreal Engine today is now being used by the Weather Channel in order to show the effects of potential storms on coastal locations when we start looking at things like hurricanes and things like that. I was actually on a plane back from Los Angeles, and there was a gentleman in front of me that had an Unreal Engine sweatshirt on. And I said, "Hey, you must be from Epic." And he confirmed that he was. And I asked him, I said, "Well, what were you doing here in LA?" And he said, "I was helping Lucasfilms finish the last Star Wars movie with the Unreal Engine." That's the idea of a platform. It isn't single purpose. It can be used in lots of different ways. And that's what gaming has showed us, and now going into media. And I think we're going to see similar things in banking. See, in banking, the challenge has been this legacy online and mobile banking model of tiny castles with little tiny windows, not wanting to do the integration. And out of frustration, the institutions have pushed those legacy providers to create open API solutions. The problem with open API solutions is that it's still, you got to go do it yourself. The reality is that a multi-sided platform like Constellation has the ability to take content from lots of providers that do many different things and actually distill that down into a single experience for credit union members. So the exciting part is we help both financial institutions and we help fintechs create content and then distribute that content to willing financial services providers who are interested in using it, licensing it, and bringing it forward. So let me wrap up a little bit real quick and just say, if you want to know what the future of digital banking is going to look like, you need to look at video games. You need to understand what the 5 key components are to video game design and figure out how we can incorporate those into the next versions of digital banking. We've got to be able to create downloadable content. It must create customizability for the consumers who are using it, built on a rewards engine that rewards their engagement and encourages it, built and it's supported by a community of communicators, of leaders, of coaches who can tell them how to use the system and make the most of it. And we must seek open platforms because that is changing how games are developed. And we need to find those same equivalents inside of digital services. So everyone, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you today. Again, my name is Kristopher Kovacs. I'm the president and CEO of Constellation Digital Partners. If you're a community-based credit union who's interested in finding out more about us, you can go to constellation.coop. If you are a fintech or a developer who is looking for a platform to be able to try out your new idea or build new services, please also come to constellation.coop. And we are hiring. So please take a look at us if you're looking for your job or your next opportunity inside of fintech. Thank you very much.